The New York Metropolitans have went the entire month of June without winning one single series. They've lost 18 of their past 24 games. This is rock bottom, folks. This is officially rock bottom. In my podcast with Anthony Recker and Joe Sorrell, my co-host, Joe wasn't able to be there for that one, but for the Queen's Corner pod a couple days ago, prior to the Brewers 4-game set, I'd say that the season is unofficially dead. And unless the Mets go out and even splitting a series wouldn't do much, but if they somehow win 3 of 4 against the Brewers, then okay, maybe they could start to get something rolling. But as we currently sit, let's go through the numbers together. Let's go through it together. Let's go through it together, everybody. The Mets are 9 games below 500. They're 9 fucking games below 500. They're at least 9 games out of the closest wild card spot. That's it. I'm sorry. It pains me to say, and I hope I'm wrong, but that's all, folks. I mean, now I have an obligation to still cover this team nightly, and we still have over half a season left. I have no clue how I'm going to be able to do that, and I just hope that the Mets play the kids and call up everyone and trade all their rentals, so that way we can try to get some semblance of enjoyment this season with seeing what the future of this club will be in the Mark Vientoses potentially, and the Ronnie Mauricios. Really appreciate Buck Showalter deciding to take Brett Beatty, who hit a home run tonight, out of the lineup because he was scared to face him against a side-arming southpaw. And Danny Mendick luckily gets on base thanks to a big error. The Mets do not score in that sequence, however. And then we have to use Lee Skjorme, who does not do anything in his at-bat. But I'm so glad. Thank you, Buck. I'm so glad it was such a priority to take out one of your best hitters tonight simply because of the fact that you were scared lefty on lefty. It's coloring me shocked. It's almost like it's a good thing for young players, the guy that's supposed to be your future at third base for potentially the next 5 to 10 years. It's almost like it's a good thing for their development to face difficult pitching, even if they struggle with. He would have faced him for one single at-bat. But no, let's bench the kid after hitting a home run tonight that sparked the Mets offense. Another game. As Steve Cohen said it best, and again, appreciate everyone watching live on replay. As you guys can see, I'm set up on a ping pong table. I'm chilling out in the garage right now where I've been watching this Mets game, this godforsaken game of the Metropolitans. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe on as you chime in for the latest postgame show here in WardyNYM. But I'm left here thinking so much about Steve Cohen's presser yesterday, in which we highlighted that I did a Walking with Wardy segment that a lot of you guys seem to like that. So maybe I think that's something we're going to have to do a lot more this year, whether it's about game recaps or whether it's about just Mets topics as a whole. I'll go for a stroll. I just need a selfie stick so that way my arm doesn't cramp up after 2 seconds of holding the camera a certain way. And we'll just talk shop on Mets. You guys seem to enjoy that. And I'll do it from various scenery, throughout wherever I am this year, later this summer. So that'll be fun. But Steve Cohen emphasized what all of us Mets fans have not only been feeling, but what we've been seeing. When the Mets hit, they don't pitch. And when they pitch, they don't hit. Max Scherzer goes 6 innings of 2 earned run ball tonight, gave up a bomb to Victor Caratini to tie the ball game, which was frustrating, don't get it twisted. However, Max was the farthest thing from the Mets' concerns tonight. He gave them a solid outing, all things considered. And in return, the Mets offense could do nothing. Again, it's been the story of their entire season. When they have this, they don't have that. When they have this, they don't have that. We're so desperate we're getting Justin Verlander wearing a rally cap in the dugout. And we're getting to the point now of hearing talks that, if there's any interest, Max Scherzer basically will have a discussion with Cohen on potentially being parted with by the trade deadline if there's interest. And obviously I'm not shocked by that because Max is a veteran. He wants to win now. Yes, he's making a bag, but if anyone is more of a contender than the Mets are right now, the Mets are anything but a contender and are willing to take on at least half a salary, then Max will certainly entertain that, and I can't blame him, and I don't blame the Mets if they potentially do something of that nature to get any type of value back. So we'll discuss that more over the month of July, what a shit show it's going to be. But before we break down things inning by inning, before I share not only my frustration, but try to really go through a therapy session as being as much of a realist as possible with all you Mets fans, spam the L's in the live chat, as you guys have been doing for the past couple minutes. Continue spamming those L's. Again, this Mets team has been so unbearable to watch. On the road with Wardy. I like that too. This has been so unbearable to watch. And I envy, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, I envy every single Mets fan out there that can just shut the television off and just go to bed. Can decide, hey, you know what? I'm not going to watch them for the weekend. I envy you in times like this because as much as I am humbled and grateful to be in the position that I am to cover this team for a living. I mean, I talk about baseball for a living. It really does not get much better than that. However, it does get difficult when you're a passionate fan of the team you cover. And two, that said team you cover has been absolute dog shit for the majority of the season, especially in the month of June, having easily the worst month I've witnessed as a fan since covering this club in the December of 2020, so the 2021 season is which I began. The Mets had a lot of turmoil, had a lot of bad things going wrong in Steve Cohen's first year of ownership, but nothing has even come close to this kind of disappointment. Nothing has even come close to this much of an embarrassment in which we have been watching this Mets team on a night-to-night basis. There is zero incentive to watch this club right now. There is zero drive that we see from the club on a night-to-night. They are pressing every single way imaginable. I can only imagine how much of an emotional wreck they are in the clubhouse. I bet they're numb to it at this point. And a team that had all these expectations and had the stars in the lineup and guys that, again, are veterans, but you hope you can get some type of value out of performance-wise. It has all cultivated into this big steaming pile of bullshit that you call a baseball club. And it sucks. It sucks beyond belief. And tonight was just yet another beautiful example of how much this club is in disarray and how nothing, and I mean nothing, can ever go their way. So with that being said, we're about to break down the ball game. I'm a Mets fan for 60 years. I'm done. I mean, if you're done for the season, that's fine. But I don't understand. If you're a fan for 60 years, I mean, this isn't the worst season you've witnessed, right? It's not even close to it. So I would just say from expectation level to reality, unbelievable. And you could see the frustration in Steve Cohen's face yesterday, and as his presser continued, answering media questions where he kind of already answered those questions, having to break it down the brass tacks for them. I know Steve's pissed, and it sucks because I know we're still going to go the entire year with Buck and with Epler. Nothing's going to change on that front. What is this? I'm gonna draw it out for you guys simple, all right? And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong. But my entire belief with this club now is that they are 100% selling leading up to the trade deadline. Tommy Pham, David Peterson, Daniel Vogelbach, if you can get some type of return for him, and Mark Hanna are all out of here as long as there are teams of interest. The Mets will bring back as many assets as they can, whether they're controllable talent, relief pitchers, whatever they are. Bring those back, and then the Mets are really going to reassess everything in the offseason, and that's going to be that. That is what I'm assuming, and I think most Mets fans could agree that is likely going to happen. And it pains me so much as someone who absolutely loves discussing the trade deadline build-up, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Mets win every single game for the next 2 weeks from here. But we know that if the Mets could even win back-to-back games, that is what one would call a miracle in today's Mets fandom. That is how shit that they have been. Also, shout out to my good friends at SoRare MLB, the best MLB fantasy game out there. Mojo Sportsbook, the sportsbook based out of New Jersey, and Manta Sleep. A little bit more on those sponsors later on the show, but again, appreciate their support as always. But you see everything on display, and it's just so brutal, guys. It's so brutal. I mean, tonight was so unbelievable. So unbelievable. So unbelievable. I cannot begin to tell you how unbelievable tonight was. I mean, you guys have been watching. You can relate, So at least I'm committed. I'm out of town right now. I could be out. Having a good time, with some at a bar and, getting nightlife done, all that fun stuff with live entertainment. But I decided, you know what, for at least tonight, probably the next couple days, because weekend, I want to enjoy my weekend. So if I cover the games, they'll likely be in just recap form off of my phone, on the road with Wardy, walking with Wardy, if you will. But, I still went out of my way to make sure, I'm setting this shit up on a ping pong table to sit watching this godforsaken game tonight on this amazing Thursday night. And I'm really at a loss for words. And my biggest takeaway from tonight's L, and as we're about to break things down inning by inning shortly, is Starling Marte could not have had a worse game. Francisco Alvarez thankfully snapped out of his offensive funk when it was most important, but he had some huge defensive hiccups today. I mean, from running into Max Scherzer, in which Max was pissed, I'm sure, to then dropping a clear pop-up. I mean, Alvy was getting his head a bit, but Marte, 2 double play balls, crucial double play balls with guys on base, and a strikeout like he didn't give a flying you-know-what in the 9th, when the Mets, all they needed was a single to tie the ball game. Just no drive, no passion, no desire. And I know that these players have all these things. So I don't want to sit here and, say, oh my God, these players, they don't have any of this. There's a difference between, having those things and actually exemplifying them, showing it in their performance. And they have done very little of that. Very little of that. If you're not named Brandon Nimmo, Brett Beatty, Tommy Pham tonight, you didn't do much, right? As let's break it out A by A now, because I'm just oh my God. How in God's name do we have roughly 600 live viewers? What is wrong with you sickos that you want to hear me talk about this team? Like, seriously. I guess I think that this is a lot of fans that can simply relate. That's about it. Okay, let's break down this ball game inning by inning. Talk about what happened. I'll get your questions. I'll get your donations. Actually, let me try to address some donations real quick before I miss any more. Dave, thank you so much for the $5 holla. If I missed anything prior, I apologize, guys, but my chat cuts off. I would absolutely consider trading Marte and McNeil. It's time. Jeff isn't going to go anywhere, and his value's at an all-time low. Doesn't make sense, right? He's going to bounce back. I'm really not overly concerned with Jeff. Yes, he's had a horrendous month of baseball, but he's a guy that I have confidence in that will be able to snap out of it. And again, you're trading him at his lowest right now. Not a smart thing to do. Marte, I'm in full board of trading with Marte at the right price. You'd have to eat some of his salary because the Mets still have him under contract for another 3 years, folks. And the guy hasn't even dealt with consistent ailments this year. And we've just seen him only look like he cares every now and then. Starling Marte was my favorite player in the Mets last year. And I've been a huge fan of his for the entirety of his career. At his best, he's given you easily over 40 bags a season, 15, 20 home runs a year, 65 to 70 plus RBIs. Like he's a very productive player when he's on, but the guy's already in his mid-30s and he's showing massive regression that we're seeing night to night. Yes, he has over 20 stolen bags this year, but his at-bats are just so lackadaisical. They're so half-assed from, again, the eye test. I'm not saying that he doesn't care. I know he does, but the fact of the matter is there's a reason why us fans can tell when a player just simply isn't locked in, or there's just something missing there. And Marte has been full-fledged on that front. Disharmonious, thank you so much for the $5 holla. Appreciate that. Matt Holt, thank you so much for a $10 donation. But let's get into it. In this second inning where things really begin, Alonso with a single. He's then out at second base trying to leg a single into a double. Then with 2 outs, Jeff McNeil hits his 13th extra base hit this season. It's an opposite field double. The Mets would, of course, not score there, but Jeff would at least start to snap out of his funk that he's been. In the third, Mad Max comes out and he works out of a 2-walk jam, which is important. And as we head to the bottom of said inning, Beatty with a home run. You'll love to see that. Brett the Met going with his bomb. First home run in easily over a month for Beatty, so a nice little monkey off the back for him. Then Brandon Nimmo hits an opposite field home run. The boys go back-to-back the 2 lefty hitters, and just like that, the Mets had themselves a 2-0 lead in the third. And that's the first time, believe it or not, in Metropolitan history that the 9-1 hitter hit back-to-back home runs. If you're wondering, how is that even possible? Because I was wondering the same thing. It does actually make sense considering more often than not, up until the start of last season, your number 9 hitter was your pitcher. So the likelihood of that happening is so slim to none, right? So that finally happened for the first time in Mets history. Marte would rip a single afterwards, but that would be the last good at-bat Marte would have tonight. It's not even close. In the fourth, Tommy Pham doing what he does best, and that's by getting on base with an opposite field single. Mets will not score there. And then as we advance to the 6th inning, Roddy Tellez with a single that's just out of the reach there of an infielder. I want to say it was McNeil. I could be wrong, whoever was defending that spot. And then Carantini, the catcher for the Brewers, rips a 2-run ding-dong off of Mad Max Scherzer, and it's a tied ball game in the 6th. In the bottom of the 6th with 2 outs, Tommy Pham has another single, his second of the night. He is going to definitely get, hopefully, some type of solid return trade-wise. Like Tommy Pham a lot. He's been great. He leads the Mets in OPS. That is how shit that they have been this year. Not to slate on Tommy Pham, but the point is, Tommy Pham should not be your leader in OPS, right? He should be, hopefully, 4th or 5th, but that's how bad this team has been, right? Tommy Pham, 2 hits on the night. We'll take that. Then, as Mad Max's day is done of 6 innings of 2 earned run ball, we head to the 7th where TJ McFarland, who was recently called up, gets a innings worth of work, but can't even get out of his own mess. He gives up a Contreras single as a pinch hitter, hits Adames, and he's already out of the ball game. Dominic Leone, everyone's favorite reliever, comes in, and he gives up an infield single to Miller, and then Brian Anderson, former Miami Marlin, turned New York Mets killer with the Milwaukee Brewers, hits an RBI sac fly to give the Brewers a 3-2 lead. Bases still loaded. Leone's able to get out of the rest of the jam. This is just what shows you how piss poor this bullpen has been too. In no way, shape, or form should the Mets ever have to consider TJ McFarland or Dominic Leone with a 2-0 lead in the 7th inning. Never in a million years should they have to do such a thing. Wardy is the curse. Oh, fuck out of here, Nick. Yeah, I'm sure. Unbelievable. Truly unbelievable. I mean, I was saying to myself, okay, the Mets must have had, better options, but they really didn't, especially because it's a 4-game series. They really haven't. So glad that we used David Robertson in another loss, though. Damn, does that feel good, I'm sure that makes Buck happy, as it does me, too. Either way, in the bottom of the 7th, Canna with a single. Mendick reaches on an error. Again, crazy error. Brian Anderson messes that up big time, big hop, can't handle it. And the Mets are looking to try to score in the 7th. They are not able to do that as Canna steals third base. Runner on the corner is less than 2 out. Less than 3 out at least, obviously. And they can't score. Nimmo hit by pitch, bases loaded, and of course Marte with the double play ball ends the inning. In the 8th, Alvey drops the pop-up that we saw. Thankfully, it didn't hurt the Mets. But then the 9th, we all saw what happened there. Mets against Devin Williams, no less, one of the better relievers in baseball, flamethrower, right? Mark Canna gets a walk. Alvarez rips a single up the middle, snaps his streak. Then after that, Canna... Oh, wait. Did I have this wrong? Did Canna steal second? Oh, I'm sorry. Canna got to third base in the 7th, not by steal, but he just got first to third there on the error. Then he stole third base when he was back out there with the walk in the 9th. So runners on the corners, and then, of course, ultimately that leads Marte to striking out to end the ball game. Just unbelievable. I can't. This team's truly killing me. And here's a thing. Hold on one second. I love getting rid of trolls in the chat, especially ones that imagine calling me a curse when I'm 5-0 at games this year. If anything, I should have season tickets right now. This team gives me such a headache. I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm lacking professionalism, which sounds like a day that ends in Y, but I'm just so shot. I'm just so shot with this team right now. And I appreciate the kind words, everybody. Thank you. John, thank you so much for the $10 holla. He says, just sell off everybody except Nimmo, Pete, Alvarez, and Beatty. Rebuild the farm. Been a fan since 84 when I was 8, and this may have been one of the worst teams I've ever seen. Rebuild the team around young pitchers. Hopefully that's the route that they go down, truly. And I think that they are going to go down that route. I know that Cohen is not a guy that likes to lose much, right? There's a reason why he has a net worth of $17 billion. With 0.72 is stock company. So I know Cohen's pissed, and I know changes are going to be had. I think, unfortunately, we're just going to have to go through the ringer for the rest of the year, whether we like it or not. Could the Mets get on a run? They could. It's always about, yeah, they could, but will they? Those are two entirely different things. So I do not have confidence on the front on will they whatsoever. I love you too, Cookie Cat. Thank you. But man, oh man. Unbelievable, guys. Rory's the next Mets GM. I feel like I'd be a little too reactionary if you couldn't tell by the live streams. Start buying tickets, going off for... Here's the thing. I would be inclined to go to a lot of Mets games if I didn't live like 2+ hours away. If I was around the corner, I would go to most games and try to be the remedy, if you will. But even my luck can only be stretched so far. You know, I've been fortunate to witness plenty of Mets wins this year. Have yet to see a loss in person. But we all know that's going to come to an end. You know what the worst part of it all is? I'm sure many of you can relate. For the Mets fans out there that say you only attend a couple games a year, or maybe even if it's one, and maybe that one singular game that you attend is with your family. I have pushed taking my family to a game this year specifically because I told them I don't want to take you to a game and get that experience in until I'm confident that the team will actually give you a consistent performance, that they're going to be on some type of heater. Aside from the 5-game win streak that they had earlier this year, they have been anything but consistent. I said, let's wait until at minimum the second half later in the summer. I really don't want to take you right now. And this is the exact reason why. So I just hope at any point this year, even if they're down and out, and again, chance at playoffs are completely gone, and I know most already feel that way. But I just hope that they get on a run at some point that we can go to just enjoy the ballpark. Because at the end of the day, even with this team likely not making playoffs at this rate, you still want to appreciate going to games. You want to have fun, right? Many of you Mets fans out there I know have still went out your way to go to games when the team has no expectations. That's how it's been for many years in Metropolitan fandom. And I too want to still get a good experience at Citi Field. Get there early, do the pregame, doing your tailgate, doing all that fun stuff, whether it's with the 7 Line or whoever. Shout out 7 Line for being a great partner on the channel, by the way. Love you, Darren. Point stands, though. I hate the fact that I haven't even had any incentive to take family or friends to games right now. It's brutal, guys. It is so brutal. Yoshima, thank you for donation. Late 2019, Mets going around when it's too late. I 1,000% see that happening. I 1,000% see a world where the Mets do in fact get on a run when it's too late. Yes. This team is going to fuck around, pardon my French, and win 20 of their last 30 games. But it ain't going to matter because they're still going to be 7 out at least of wild card. That's my guess. That. And again, I hate feeling this way. You have no idea how much I hate feeling this way. I hate acting this way, but I'm not even acting. To turn such an internal optimist in myself into rather a pessimistic fan says a lot. Because I have always been against the pessimistic fans. I've always been the guy to really, believe in a club until they're officially, eliminated. And I still do feel that way. My blind optimism, me being blindly hopeful rather, is still what is driving me to believe that they're going to have something good happen. But I have no confidence in it at all. No confidence whatsoever. That world is cloudy. Yeah, the world is cloudy right now. The air was not great at Citi Field today. Where I'm at right now, it's I think 190 or 200 in air quality. So it's shit again. Thank you, Canada. Appreciate it. It has not been fun at all. But what is fun and what is a positive, unlike this ball game, unlike this baseball club all season long, it is this. Francisco Alvarez jersey giveaway. Why haven't you entered yet? What, are you crazy? You don't want an Alvarez jersey, the jersey of the man that's likely going to be the star catcher for the New York Metropolitans for the next decade? I would want one. I want one too, but I'm being selfless and giving back to you guys. And all you have to do to enter for your chance at winning a Francisco Alvarez jersey, in which we will be picking the winner, it will be officially announced sometime next week, because I said we'll be picking a winner at the end of the month. So sometime next week, I will be announcing the winner. And all you have to do to enter is by clicking the link in the description of the live show to sign up to Wardy's Sora MLB League. Sora MLB is the best MLB fantasy game out there. It is free to play, so you sign up, you enter Wardy's League, it'll say enter Wardy's League. You click that right away, you draft your team, and again, you don't have to spend a dime if you don't want to. You can play for free, but if you want to spend money in order to increase your chances at doing well in tournaments, you can certainly do that. You enter weekly tournaments against myself and other great Mets fans in the community, and then you are automatically entered for your chance at winning an Alvarez jersey. And the reason why I emphasize this so much right now is because tonight is the final night, folks. Tonight's probably the last night in June that I will be live. I don't know how many days are in June. I think 30 or 31. I couldn't tell you. And quite frankly, I don't care. But the point stands. This will likely be the last time I'm live in the month of June. So I'm not going to be promoting this again. Tonight's the final night. You've had all month to enter. So if you haven't entered, get your last entrance in now. Click the link to join Wardy's Sora MLB League in the description of the live show so you have your chance at winning a Francisco Alvarez jersey. Again, you must enter. You must join the league that you don't have to spend a dime for. Draft your team. Enter weekly tournaments. By doing all those 3 steps, which takes you 2 seconds at a snap of a finger, you are automatically entered, and then I will be randomly picking one lucky Mets fan winner to win the Alvarez jersey. So make sure you're chiming in, and also when you sign up for your teams too, it does help a little bit when you sign up for your team and maybe use the same name that you have on YouTube. You don't have to, but it does help a little bit. That way I can just track you guys good. But that's the only thing I'll say. Make sure you sign up. Thank you guys all so much for the support. Let's see. Jayski, thank you so much for the $5 holla. What the hell, bro? We lost again, bro. They play with no heart this season for real. This season has been absolutely horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And J-Rel, I appreciate you, my man. A long-time listener. Yeah, Marte, I'm seeing some clown faces. Don't blame you. Yeah. No, this team's cooked, guys. Sadly, this team's cooked. And I've said it all along. Like, I could be yelling. I could be pulling a Frank the Tank. But doesn't that shtick get tired after a while too? Like, I yelled so much this year. Early this year, right? And there's points where it's justified. And then there's points where it's like, why? What difference does it make? There is no difference. It doesn't make any difference. What, you want me to yell at the screen again and tell you how bad this team is night after night after night after night? I'd rather just be this depressed kid. I mean, I'm not actually depressed. I don't want to say that. I'm reactionary depressed watching this team, but I do not take mental health lightly, seriously, as someone who has had their fair share of sufferers with depression and anxiety. So I certainly can relate with a lot of people on that front. But I hope you get what I'm trying to say here. You know, when you jokingly say, "Oh my God, this team makes me depressed," you know, they're killing me. Like, that's how it feels. And I'd rather just be real versus, you know, yelling at a phone where I know as soon as I'm going to turn the phone off, I'm not going to be yelling. So it's justified a lot of the times. But what? If the Mets losing now, they're 9 games back instead of 8. They're 9 games below 500 instead of 8. Tomorrow, if they lose, all right, they're 10 games below 500 instead of 9. We can't sit here and yell for changes because changes aren't going to just miraculously come, you know, at our fingertips. They'll have to be natural, and management and all that stuff is not changing internally. The only hope we have at this point of the season is that the team somehow, some way finds a rhythm, gets on a run, and then could add somewhat at the trade deadline. But that is so wishful thinking at this point. The most realistic thing that's going to happen, as I've stated before, is that they're going to continue to be inconsistent, and they're going to be in a spot where they're likely going to be selling all their expendable players that have any type of semblance of value, and then really just kind of garner things and try to retool, get ready for the offseason, make a lot of more changes. Another offseason where the Mets are going to have so many moves again. It's going to be nuts. And hopefully for the second half of the year, just give the kids an opportunity that they deserve. Benjamin, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate that. Benjamin with the $20 holla says, reason why I watch as a non-Mets fan is that you're real. Appreciate your show. Even though I like the Braves, you do good work. My favorite podcast. I appreciate you, Benjamin. God bless my man. Appreciate you chiming in. Hype in the chat to Benjamin. We've had a lot of very not only casual, but like daily Braves viewers that don't even just watch for the sake of, seeing Mets misery, but actually watch for that reason. So I appreciate that a lot, Ben. Thank you. And I know, again, Braves fans are... Here's the thing. This is a difference. The only reason why we compare the Braves to the Mets is because we're in the same division. But in reality, they are polar opposites. They are not even remotely close to each other. You have a Braves club that has won, 20 of their last 23 games? And I know I'm not far off when I say that. Versus a Mets team that has lost 18 of their past 24. The Mets got swept by the Braves when they had a 3-run lead in every single game that series. Like, that in itself, that series was such a gut punch for this club that along with many of other demoralizing losses they've had this year, series losses, they just have not found any chance to rebound from. That's just how it is. And I appreciate you, Jacob. Thank you so much for the kind words, brother. It's okay if you hate my team. In defense, even if you hate the Mets, you don't need to hate them right now, because what are you hating? That's the equivalent of looking at below pond scum and being like, I hate that. Why? Doesn't harm you. Hasn't hurt you in a long time, I'm sure. Isn't going to do anything to you. What's the point? But I understand if you have hatred, especially from last year, because the 2022 Mets was a doozy, something that a lot of fans took for granted and didn't appreciate for what it was. Even though the season ended like shit, that was still such an electric year to follow, and it was so fun to be locked in, even as much as we were heartbroken in the end. They exceeded our expectations and then came up much short than we initially thought after the run that they were having. But damn, were they so much fun to watch. I have not went more than 2 days with being genuinely happy and excited about this club this year. And I actually mean that. Even when they had their 5-game win streak, it's how they're winning. Nothing overly crazy. Nothing that's like, wow, on a night to night, like you're so happy to watch them. And same thing vice versa when they lose. I mean, they've lost in the worst ways imaginable this year. I mean, you draw up any potential scenario of an L, and that's what the Mets have done. So, you know, I'm just fed up. Just fed up more than anything. It's brutal. It really is. But as it goes with many things in life, whether you have a normal 9-to-5 or whatever it may be, and just say things aren't going great for you, the show still must go on. And that is what's going to happen here. So stay tuned. We will be having certainly trade rumor and trade discussion coverage a lot over this next month. I'll be out of town quite a bit throughout the month. Hitting San Diego later next week will be with my man Borna at Hogwatch, the best Padres YouTuber out there. Cannot wait to witness at Petco Park in person with Borna us watch the battle of mid, or should I even say below mid, between two huge payrolls yet lackadaisical clubs and the Mets and the Padres. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. But aside from that, even though that I'll be out and about a lot lately this month, we'll still be doing my best to give you guys consistent coverage. And of course, breaking down all the news in Mets land, whether it's good news, whether it's bad news, or whether it's just simple stuff that, you know, still have to cover for the sake of covering it. And Albana, thank you so much for that's funny. Hype in the chat for Albana, guys. Albana is an absolute beauty. Appreciate the donation. Good friend of mine. But that made my night. Thank you, Albana. I appreciate that. That was a sympathy donation, is what that was, you know? And I feel like that's the same with a lot of Braves fans. Not necessarily you, Benjamin, but especially after the Mets got swept by the Braves. Even when they got swept, I was getting donations left and right from Braves fans, just being like, and even afterward, just like saying, like, I'm sorry. Like, I feel like Tyler, I genuinely like you, and I feel bad that you have to go through this. So here, have a couple bucks. So I appreciate that. Appreciate you, Albana. I appreciate all the donations from everyone else. Roy, this is really sad, but sometimes I watch your old post-game videos from last year to make me feel better about this year. Oh my God, that makes me want to cry, Mikey. Are you shitting me? You actually do that? Oh my God, don't. That's like, if I went and watched my old post-games, that would be the equivalent of just looking at photos with my ex. Like, oh my God, it's like what, like all the happy moments, what they were. And then you get flushed with this reality of like, oh my God, no, this isn't okay, because that's no longer there. It's not happening anymore. You don't have the happiness anymore. Oh no, that's terrible. Who's taller, you or Borna? Borna claims he's 5'8", but if he's 5'8", then I'm 5'7". I mean, we're both short as shit. But Borna ain't fooling anybody. You'll see us side by side, and he'll have his curly ass hair on me. That's it. But yeah, no, that's brutal. That's tough. That's really tough if you're watching the old post-game shows. Man, I don't wish that on my worst enemy. It's nice to look back on good memories, I suppose. I remember one of the best moments I had last year, and then I'm going to get out of here, guys. Again, this is more of a therapy session tonight, right? You share your thoughts, you vent, you talk with me, all that fun stuff as a short schmuck talking about this Mets team. But my favorite moment last year, one of them, not my most favorite moments were not only the Phillies, rallies and coming back. They were when the Mets won 3-4 against the Braves with DeGrom pitching the doubleheader. Oh my God, like I was like ripping my jersey off. I looked like an absolute meathead, but it was so much fun. Took it too serious, don't care, pop some blood vessels, doesn't matter, because we're living in the moment. But my favorite moment, if I can recall, has to be me jumping out of a hot tub, having a couple drinks in me, because I'm at my brother's bachelor party weekend, and I'm following the Mets game, and they fuck around and decide to throw a no-hitter on the one night, the one weekend that all that year that I was out, and I couldn't justify just sitting and watching a game by myself, because it's my brother's bachelor weekend, kind of a big deal. I'm just sitting there in a hot tub. I have the game on my phone. I was like, there's no way. And then it happens. I sprint so effing fast, guys, out of that damn hot tub. My face looked like an effing tomato per usual, just screaming my head off at my phone. Oh, that has to be my favorite moment. That has to be, just because of the timing And just because of how hilarious it was. And it was against the Phillies, no less, too. So it's like the Mets literally won every type of way imaginable against that team. That's crazy. The Mets were the reason why they fired Joe Girardi. And that's why I say that's the reason why the Phillies fired Joe Girardi. I'm a firm believer that the Mets don't kick the Phillies' teeth in last year. They don't have the season that they did and have a deep run that they do. Doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. That's just how I feel about it. But let's see. Rory, is this the biggest disappointing season for Mets that you can recall? For me, disappointment-wise, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, again, I've been a Mets fan my whole life, but I started watching them daily in 2015. So I'm a newer fan when it comes to really being a diehard and locked in day to day. I watched them prior to 2015, but it was more on a casual basis. And it wasn't like I, at that point, had any incentive to really consider covering them for a living one day. But since 2015, for example, there has not been a season that has stunned this much. And I think it's further emphasized because, again, I cover the club for a living. So it doesn't matter on if I want to or not. I have to be locked in. I always have to be watching. I have to be keeping up with the score. I need to be looking at everything, regardless of what I'm doing. That's just how it is. And that's fine. I'm not complaining on that front. However, because I have to be so locked in, I naturally care more. I care so much. As someone who covered every single move out of the 100 moves that Steve Cohen has made since becoming owner, I've covered every single one that you guys have all seen publicly. So especially after the wild offseason that we just had, for that to amount to this disgusts me to no end. And Steve Cohen, as we've heard already, will be the first to tell you that exact same thing. So yeah, that's how I feel. Definitely disappointed, to say the least. But with that being said, guys, that is going to do it for the show. I appreciate you all watching so much. If you enjoyed, if you got any type of closure out of this, if you were just happy to hear a Mets fan maybe relate with you, or just happy to hear, a Mets fan, go through his pain and sorrow, if you're an opposing fan, whatever it may be, don't hesitate from smashing that like and subscribe button. Means a lot. Like I said, probably the last live show we'll do for the weekend, unless something truly crazy happens. I will always be, covering the team regardless. So be on the lookout for recaps, stuff like that, post-game recaps. If any breaking news happens, then, of course, I will be here to cover it at some point, hopefully ASAP from whatever that happens. But thank you guys again for chiming in. It really does mean the world to me that after everything that this team has been through, that we get such high viewership, such consistency in the chat on asking questions, sharing opinions, and just being so engaged as a community is something that I will never take for granted. So thank you so much for that. But I'm out here, everyone. Have a great rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this. And this is Wardy signing out.